Welcome back, everyone. XRP Hobart speaking. Today we're exploring XRP, and I have to begin with this. Many don't realize what's approaching. Basel III alongside ISO 20022 requires banks to embrace assets that remain secure, compliant, and efficient. XRP matches these requirements better than nearly everything else. Once the transition begins, XRP becomes worldwide banking infrastructure. Still nervous during this dip. ISO, we have not witnessed any value emerge from that yet. That value, I believe, will arrive later this year. Most likely, once this starts gaining some momentum, it will gather much more momentum shortly afterward. Within all those messages, you can begin using crypto throughout them. That's what makes ISO 20022 revolutionary. And many people still believe it will become a nothing burger until meaningful value finally appears. European post-trade giant Clearstream recently expanded its institutional services to include XRP, Solana, ADA, Litecoin, XLM, and AVAX. According to the company, this expansion addresses increasing demand for MiCA-compliant digital assets across institutional finance. Before moving forward, if you enjoy this kind of content, remember to subscribe to my channel. Now, let's return to the topic. Everyone wants to benefit from everything happening currently. They want to become early movers throughout this. But regarding MiCA is cleaning the crypto sector across the EU here. Within the US, we're still awaiting that cleanup to occur. It will happen through the Clarity Act, if it eventually gets approved. But what you're already watching unfold throughout the EU is soon arriving within the United States too. And Casey Craddock actually highlighted this back during 2024. Take a listen.
The main reason that we're starting to see, or we're seeing this adoption really happening now is regulatory clarity. And it's providing banks and the largest financial institutions in the world, I guess, the incentive or the ability to be able to really lean into offering this to their customers. MiCA here in Europe really has kind of kick-started that momentum, and what we've seen is banks almost racing on a regional basis to launch a digital asset offering to their customers, because their customers are demanding it. It's no longer a nice to have, it's a must have to keep competitiveness within their specific region. And I think that that momentum around regulatory clarity is only going to continue. And last year we saw 250% year-on-year growth here in Europe from a custody perspective, and I expect that kind of momentum will kick on into the second half of 2025 and into 2026.
So she's already pointing out that because of MiCA, Ripple already seen momentum. The same thing will happen here through Clarity, and what they're doing is they're separating utility from speculation. That's why eventually utility will rise while speculation dies and Bitcoin will become irrelevant. Tether invests $20 million in Mercado Bitcoin, a key Ripple partner, powering $200 million plus in real-world asset. Tokenization on the XRP ledger. I was kind of shocked by this because Tether investing in this, it looks like Tether wants to make a move into tokenization. The good thing is this move happens on the XRP ledger. Analysts predict what will happen if XRP turns $1.14 into support. We need to see that happen, because then we could start to see a much bigger breakout towards $1.20. And then if we break through $1.30 again, we continue on back to $2. But I thought we were going to see this happen when XRP broke above $1.14 on July 4th. But then it kind of broke back down. And now we're waiting for it to return to that momentum and that push through $1.14 again. Now, if we bounce off $1.14, there's a good chance we revisit some of those price points that people keep calling for. Sub $1.89, I see 79 cents. Other people are saying it has to come down to 92 cents. And then we go parabolic. Nobody knows what's really going to happen. Everybody's guessing right now, trying to predict it to happen. But once XRP starts to break out, I don't think it's coming back down for a very long time. I think this run is going to be something so much different than previous runs because utility will show up along the way. Here we go. Ripple, Axiology, and Canton. Ripple, partner, Axiology, who operates. It was built on the open source code of the XRP ledger and has piloted trials with the ECB using XRP ledger technology for DBP, just went live as a validator on Canton. The giants crossed paths again. Everybody keeps saying XRP is done. It's all about Canton now. What they don't realize is Ripple will work side by side with Canton. They're going to work side by side with XLM and Stellar and XDC and Quant. This is going to be a handful of networks to rule the world. It's not going to be one coin to rule them all, is what I'm saying. These networks are going to run side by side inside of a new financial system, which is getting built out right now in the background. XRP rivals Stellar, crosses $3 billion in real-world assets. I can't believe they're still calling Stellar a rival to XRP. You know, these two cryptocurrencies are not fighting each other. They're working together. They have two different use cases, but every once in a while their use cases overlap. What I want to point out here is Stellar flips Ethereum and Solana. Just like XRP flipped Ethereum and Solana when it comes to real-world assets. It was always meant to be XRP and XLM. The IMF cited both of these cryptocurrencies. The ECB cited both of these currencies. The World Bank cited both of these cryptocurrencies. Same thing with the BIS and the World Economic Forum. They were both chosen to be main players in the new financial system. They are not rivals in any way. XLM is more for remittances and person-to-person payments. However, it's also tied in with CBDCs and business-to-business payments and bank-to-bank payments. Same thing with XRP. Originally, it was supposed to be for bank-to-bank payments and central bank digital currencies, but now it's also tied in with domestic payments and micropayments as well. They're not fighting each other, and they will both rise in price at the same time. I always said, if you hold XRP, why not hold XLM? And if you hold XLM, why not hold some XRP? The crypto industry is at a crossroads. The best assets, companies, and people will graduate to the big leagues. Take a listen to this clip. Now, he's also citing that 99% of crypto will most likely disappear. Take a listen.
Well, my next guest shook up the crypto world recently when he said that most of the crypto industry is dead and they're never coming back. I'm going to bring in now professional capital management founder and CEO, Anthony Pompliano. My man, when you said that, it was like a shot across the bow, maybe a shot into the bow. What exactly are you talking about?
Well, think about sports, right? You kind of play middle school sports and high school sports, and then a very small percentage of people, they get to go to college and play sports, and then eventually there's even a smaller percent they get to go play professional sports. Same thing's happening in the crypto world. If you're good enough, you're going to get adopted into the traditional financial system. So I think Bitcoin, stable coins, equity, infrastructure, and tokenization, that's going to graduate to the professional leagues. Everything else, you're going to get left in high school, man. It's just,
really?
It's not going to make it.
I mean, in a way, that's kind of good, right? Because it feels like, there was one point where there was new stuff popping up every morning you wake up and there's 20, 30, 50 different things and people didn't know what to do. They were throwing their money at everything. It might be better at the end of the day for investors, no?
Well, you want competition.
Right.
We've had a lot of competition, but the free market ultimately is going to determine the winners. The beauty of this industry is that the market is the referee. The market's going to determine what's valuable. Now, what you have is you have very sophisticated large pools of capital coming from the traditional world, and they're saying, okay, here's all these things that we could invest in. What are the things that we think are large, scalable, resilient, and asymmetric? Right. And I think those four things that I described, that's where their capital is going. And so that's why I say the crypto industry is dying. But this isn't new. Go back to the 90s. We talk about internet entrepreneurs, internet companies, right? Now we just call them entrepreneurs and companies. And so the idea of crypto is still going to be alive. But the word crypto, in 5 years, we're not going to use that word anymore. And it's just going to be, it's Bitcoin, just like gold, oil, and anything else. Right. And if you got a crypto coin, it's going to go to the wayside, because if you can't make it in the traditional financial system, you ain't going to be able to make it.
What about these recent developments, the Clarity Act, Genius, what's happening with stablecoin. And I think we'll know more about that when Stripe goes public. I don't think the public understands just how rapidly they're being adopted.
Yeah, so the regulation, I just think of this as it's green light, red light. When regulation gets passed, a bunch of green lights go on and the institutions say, hey, we can participate here, right? They're all about risk mitigation, and regulation is a risk.
But some Bitcoin purists don't like all these regulators getting into it. You reference institutions. This was supposed to be, to guard us against the influence of regulators and institutions. It was supposed to be one of these, no rules, the kind of revolutionary thing, and it feels like it's they're starting to put guardrails around it, and
100%. I look at Wall Street's participation in Bitcoin in particular. It's growing the pie, but the beauty is that Bitcoin is the king of the market. Bitcoin is always going to be the king, and the reason why it's growing the pie is because if I'm a hardcore Bitcoiner, I can buy Bitcoin, I can hold it, and it doesn't matter if there's institutions adopting it or not. It doesn't matter.
I think he's totally wrong, and he's a Bitcoin guy, Anthony Pompliano. I think that the institutions are looking past Bitcoin. They're looking past Ethereum. You see it through the ETF outflows that are happening every single day. I think going forward, it's all about utility. And I think he's right. I think most of the crypto industry is dead, but there's some cryptocurrencies that are still building out in the background. They're part of a new financial system. They're part of tokenization. They're playing big roles when it comes to AI. It's just going to separate people, the speculation and hype, from what solves real world problems. That's what we're about to see happen over the coming months. But Bitcoin is not going to go to zero. I keep seeing people saying that, well, Bitcoin's eventually just going to die off. I think it's going to become irrelevant. And what I mean by that is it's going to have a high value. How high? Not $1 million, not $300,000. Most likely it will sit around maybe 80, 90 kilobits maybe. Even 50, 60 kilobits if it goes that low. Because I think what's going to happen along the way is XRP is eventually going to flip its market cap, become number one. And then you're going to start to see other cryptocurrencies move ahead of Bitcoin as well. The top 10 is going to look a lot different in the future. And I think ISO 222 compliant cryptocurrencies are going to fill the top 10. XRP could rally above $13 before Bitcoin's next all-time high. And they're citing the XRP/Bitcoin chart. And I always said it. I said XRP could move without Bitcoin. It doesn't mean that we're always going to move with Bitcoin forever. That's eventually going to stop. Will it move ahead of Bitcoin this time around? Only time will tell. But the charts are starting to point in that direction. What would people think if XRP broke out right now, went into double digits without Bitcoin moving at all? I think people would start talking about XRP all over the mainstream media. News, all of a sudden you would have people on there saying, maybe we were wrong about Bitcoin, questioning Bitcoin going forward. Then XRP goes on to flip its market cap, and all of a sudden the smart money leaves. People who believe in crypto, Tesla, CEO, Nvidia, Uber, Apple, YouTube, BlackRock, PayPal, Amazon, Reddit, Vanguard, Facebook, Google, Charles Schwab, and Fidelity CEOs. And not just XRP, they believe in crypto. They see crypto as the future. And if they see it as the future, you as an investor should see it as the future also. I always said, follow the money, see what other people are investing in. See what the big names are investing in. The one thing about XRP that really stands out is that Elon can't talk about XRP. Larry Fink can't talk about XRP. Other big names out there, they never ever mention XRP. They could talk about Bitcoin and Ethereum all day long, but they never ever mention this cryptocurrency or talk about it. That should tell you all you need to know, because they definitely see the potential in it. I mean, how can you ignore how big Ripple has gotten since 2022 until now? Over the last couple years, Ripple has grown like never before. People had to take notice to that, but yet they don't talk about it. And all of those acquisitions that Ripple made, they are all to benefit and bring utility to XRP. You are invested in what the elites see as the future, whether they talk about it or not. So all you got to do to get financial freedom and life-changing money is just hold it long enough. And until it happens, stay patient, Stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. Have a great day. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and be sure to join my free Telegram community with the link on my channel where I post my daily crypto experience and arbitrage opportunities you can't get anywhere else. This is XRP Hobart, signing off.